Yeah, dear viewers, very good morning and very happy to meet you of this NISARG edition, Network of Indian Scientists and Academics in Germany, Consulate General of India, Hamburg initiative. This is happening now for the fifth year from 2016. It's launched and we have various interactions happen with many experts in different fields. And today we have Dr. Pratirupa Bardhan from GEOMAR, and more than I am giving introduction about her, Dr. Bardhan will speak on what is her journey while she was in India, what's her interest as a child, and what has changed later, and how she got interested in this topic, and what is she doing now about her institution, and what kind of research she is doing, also more in the language of the general public to understand what exactly it means, and also motivation for the young people who are students who are looking forward to work on this field, and also potential collaborators and researchers who would like to join her research group or to have projects and further on. So let's go into the program. So, Pratirupa, thank you very much for joining today and taking your time. NISARG actually is, as I have briefly informed, it's Consulate General of India, Hamburg's initiative. It started in 2016, and the current Consul General, Sri Madanlal Raigar, when he took office, and then the first time we had a Teachers' Day, and from that time we thought of this initiative, and also a team with Dr. Rajneesh Tiwari and Faizan from Kiel, whom you're probably also aware of, so they were also part of the earlier discussions as well. So let's go into the program directly, and it will be very nice for me and also for the audience to get to know who you are, from where you are coming from, India, and your early childhood, and about your general interest at that point of time in research and science. And after that, we can go into your second block with respect to the college and education and the masters, and then we can go to the research as of now. Please.
So hello everyone. First I will thank Dr. Bala for inviting me to this wonderful platform. So I am Pratirupa Bardhan. I come from Kolkata in West Bengal. I'm a chemical oceanographer by training. So my expertise is learning about the chemistry of the oceans, but I also do a bit of biology and geology. So this is what I'm doing currently. I studied chemistry for my bachelor's, and then I did my master's in marine science from Calcutta University. And after that, I did my PhD in India from the National Institute of Oceanography, which is a CSIR institute. It's located in Goa. And following my PhD, I have come here for my postdoc at GEOMAR Kiel.
Great.
So this is my career path in.
Nice, yeah. It's very nice. Actually, Rupa, you know, I myself is also a marine biologist.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay.
I did my zoology, and then later did my marine biology on oceanography in Center for Advanced Studies in Marine Biology in Porto Novo, Parangipeta in Anamala University. I'm pretty sure you might have come across.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's so interesting that you also come from that. So basically, probably you also might have known, because you did your PhD in NIO Goa. So maybe you have also known Mr. Madan Ravichandran, who was the former science counselor at the Embassy of India, because he himself was a marine engineering scientist in the NIO.
Yes, I know him. Actually, we have met. I don't know if he remembers me now, but yes, when he was in NIO, we have interacted a few times.
Right. So he was there here with us at the embassy as 3 years as science counselor for us, and quite a lot of new projects and cooperation that also happened. And we also have
Okay.
a very large ocean engineering and coastal engineering institute in Hannover with Professor Thorsten Schlurmann, who also works closely. Anyway, that's a lot of let's say in the fields of marine that good to know that going back to my old times in marine biology as well. Um, Rupa, just you told about that you did your college and also then your post graduation in Calcutta, if I'm right.
That's right.
So, till your masters, mostly, let's say, your education was in West Bengal, where you were born and brought up. And
That is correct.
so, how was it? How did you come to this field? I mean, what was your interest during your early school education? Was there someone from your family or from parents or somebody who have been somewhere close related to it, or something to do with the sea and marine or those kind of things? Or where did you pick up this interest?
No, actually, in terms like, so my family always encouraged and the education in general. So my mother is a teacher. I have in my family a lot of my relatives who are kind of in educational professions, like my uncle who is a professor, and so we had that trend. But oceanography is a very so I kind of am the first person. So I loved the ocean in general, but in terms of science, I think it kind of only came when I was doing my bachelor's, and I came to see that there are so many things to be explored and unknown, and it was so intriguing. And initially, my interest was really, we have this mangrove system in West Bengal, the Bangladesh, the Bay of
Sundarbans.
Bengal, and that was exactly, and that was such a unique ecosystem, and kind of that was one of my primary points of interest. And then as I read more, my interest grew and my questions grew, and I decided to explore. So I had encouragement from my family, but if I say the topic was, it kind of came on my own.
Okay.
And also, when I was studying, my professors, they were encouraging. They pushed me. They told me about different options to explore as a student, which it was new, all new for me. So definitely during my master's, my professors were very encouraging and motivating.
Actually, I lively remember my visit to Kolkata, Darjeeling, and also Sundarban mangroves, because my master thesis was cyanobacteria, role of cyanobacteria and salt tolerance, and especially the one I extracted was from mangroves. Because on the coastal area where I studied, there are also very big mangroves like Sundarbans is there in the east, the Bay of Bengal there. So yeah, it's something very special, and it's great to know that one side, of course, it's your encouragement from the parents. It's always something very important, and for the children to freely choose what they want to, or what is their dream and where they want to pursue. But the second, as you said, as your mother yourself is a teacher, but also your professors in the college also made sure that encouraged on this. Can you say one incident or something that really finally you fixed? This is what I want to do in your masters. Is there a visit somewhere, or some experts who gave seminar who came to your college, or your interaction with someone? Because yes, you wanted to do science and everything, but probably there could be some context or some situations. Finally, one let's say takes a decision based on that. Just that last moment, that fire comes from that. Something like that. I mean, interesting. Something did you have?
For me, it would be the field trip. So during our master's program, we had some field trips, compulsory, and then also part of the thesis. So we would go to an island in the Sundarbans, which is a reserved area, so only for research purpose. And I found it so exciting that we were living in the island. It had no electricity. We had to bring our own water and own food, and we were just doing science there. We were learning the basics of the water sampling, and the evening we would just light a lamp, the old-fashioned lamps, and we would do the measurements there. We had carried all our equipments. We would measure the oxygen, and that was so exciting to me, especially looking at so there was research scholars, the PhD scholars who were working like that. And so I was very impressed by that passion. And so you could say I wanted to do more then about it. And that was definitely, so the real nature is one of my main motivators, you can say. It was incredible.
Wonderful. I think so. You have seen, as you said, real nature in the sense also sometimes when no artificial, lightning, artificial noise or something, that you are just simply there, as you said, with the old mode of lamps and without having any so-called modern convenience, but merging into the nature. And really respect and appreciate that that has really pushed you into that field which you are now into the long. So you did masters, and what was your thesis in the masters, or what was your actually the research subject you took for your short research?
Yeah, so I was looking at some salt tolerant mangroves, and I was looking at what are the optimum conditions. So I measured the sediment carbon content and the nitrogen content, and then the nutrients in the soil. And I did a seasonal cycle, so pre-monsoon and monsoon and post-monsoon. So it was a basic project, and so I did this. So we went to the Sundarbans a few times, collected the samples, and then did some measurements on field, and then we brought back some. So I got kind of a introduction to basic measurements in the seawater samples.
Okay. So because we are telling about measurements, salt tolerance mangroves, during a literature survey, I do not know whether you have come across Professor Kadiresan, maybe a name, probably, I don't know whether it says something to you. He was my actually supervisor in my marine biology, where I did also the cyanobacteria and mangroves, and so it's recently he is been awarded one of the 2% scientists in the world in some kind of a study and things like that. So yeah, happy to hear a lot about mangroves actually, because I lived also in the mangroves and did my research and everything. It's it's a price. It's a very nice. Also, as you rightly said, I could just go back to my times exactly in that Pichavaram mangrove forest. Also, it's the same. You go there are small islands, and you are sitting there, and it's so much of fertile actually soil with water as well, and True. So you did your masters, and then what was your plan actually when you started masters? What was your plan, and then during the course, how it probably in one way or other changed, or you just still your objective was one and then you reached that, or your objective was different and then during the course it became different?
So during my master's, I would like to mention one of my professors, Professor Sandeep Mukhopadhyay. He was our chemical oceanography teacher, and he told me that start preparing for the CSIR NET exam. When you have your own fellowship, your research can be more independent. You can, be more confident because you have your own funding, you can apply anywhere. So he told me that this is a good direction to pursue. So from my second year of master's, I started reading, preparing for my NET exams. And so usually in the CSIR NET format, the oceanography is a small module and the geology is kind of a significantly larger module, which was again a new topic for me as my background was chemistry. So I really had to read, apart from my general master's thing, I had to also read up on geology and a bit of geography and atmospheric chemistry. So on my first attempt in the CSIR NET exams, I secured a LS, the lecturership.
Okay.
So so I was still doing my master's. In the final year, we can apply for the exam. So that was also an encouragement that, I'm just a new person and I don't know these topics. And so if I try a little bit harder, maybe I can do it better. So, so the next time I really kind of devoted myself for the CSIR NET exam, and I got the junior research fellowship. So that time my professor told me he told me that CSIR National Institute of Oceanography is a good place for, they are one of the best, and even worldwide they have a lot of good reputation, so I should try there. So he had also done his postdoc, so he referred me to Dr. Waji Naqvi, who then later became my PhD advisor. So I wrote to Dr. Naqvi about my results and interests, and he called me for an interview in Goa. So then I went, and he asked me some questions, and he asked me that, here we are going to be doing full oceanography cruises. So it is not small scale like what I've done. And I have to be out at sea for many days. And so those are big ocean cruises, but we also have a lot of day trips. And those boats are a very rough conditions often. So I'm mentally prepared to do that. So I said, yes, I'm very excited to do that. And that's how it started. So I packed my bags, came to Goa, and then I lived there for the next 5 years.
Okay. So yeah, very interesting. Actually, also it's nice to know that your so-called prospective supervisor told a lot of things to mentally prepare yourself for, and get to know that you're going to be in the sea and all those things. How is it for you generally when you look at the sea and ocean, and what is coming to your mind? How do you love the ocean or sea, because you are into that subject, in and out, you have been there, and it's 5 years you are at NIU. What was it all about?
I loved it. I mean, that was, if I say the best part of my research career, I would say that was the best part, because one, it is something really unique. Like not everybody can experience this. Second, it is so exciting. We are really learning so much about the oceans and all these different technologies we are employing. I think that's so exciting, and especially on research cruises, we are always working. Like sometimes we would actually work 18 hours at a time because we are doing some experiments, or then we are collecting, the stations are coming, and like the seawater station. But it is so exciting because everybody is working as a team. There is no phone connection, so you don't have a lot of distraction to contact home or something. So everybody is like fully into the science and the research, but also a lot of fun, because when we are taking a break, everybody is relaxing. Like, at work here, when we are here, we are always having our own responsibilities, own commitments. So in ocean, when we are there, it's only really the people on board. So I think the bond is also really good. Like I have a very good bonding with my PhD friends with whom I sailed. So we sailed a lot during my PhD. So I think it's for them as well, I can say, because we always think those were such good days and good memories. But we were always working. It was like not easy at all. So Yeah, that's incredible.
So I think I can imagine your future research doesn't matter at whatever time and how long, you cannot certainly do without being close to the ocean.
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your professor is Professor Nakvi, who actually is the department also called in NIO Chemical Oceanography Department, or what is your own institute or department called there?
Yes, it's a chemical oceanographic division, and Dr. Naqvi's group was called the Center for Excellence in Aquatic Biogeochemistry.
Ah, okay.
Because we were not just doing ocean research, we were also doing freshwater and estuarine. I mean, the group is still doing. So we were aquatic biogeochemistry group.
Ah, good. So, yeah, so it was, you said 5 years for your PhD to get done and everything. So, what was your, at that time, what was your goal? I mean, after you finish your PhD, during the PhD or the final phase, already you are looking for some positions within the Indian scientific setup, let it be ministry, let it be, other research institutions or even NIO, or maybe at your Calcutta University you want to be back, or it was always that you want to further your research and you want to do, you want to go out to further your exposure and to do something, and then before you want to return back or you want to stay. Did you have a plan for your life, or you said, no, let me go with the flow and let me keep open mind, what happens, it happens? How was it?
Yeah, so my plans have changed a lot, to be honest. I have had some plans and then some things didn't work out, so I made new plans. So, yeah, so during the middle of my PhD, I got married. And when I was writing my thesis, at that time, I was expecting my son.
Okay.
So my priorities were kind of also keeping my family in mind. Yeah. So when I was doing my PhD, before that, I wanted to do ideally a postdoc abroad, and then I wanted to come back to India, especially the lab where I worked for my PhD. So I was mainly doing the stable isotopes, and I realized that we don't have a lot of people there in that field. And I realized if I have enough expertise, maybe I can be a person to guide and as a future, like it could be something I can contribute as well if I am more trained and more experienced. As I said, but when I was finishing my PhD, I was expecting my son, and my priorities changed. So I took a break after that. I took a break for a year because I was living away from family in Goa, and I had a small baby. It was just impossible for me that time to think. So I started applying for different posts in India as well as abroad. So I had a few labs that I knew I liked, so I applied there. And in India, I applied for the Inspire DST fellowship and the SERB fellowship postdoctoral. These two I had applied in India. And I had, in terms of international, I had applied for the Humboldt fellowship, and I did not apply for anything else. I personally wrote to a couple other labs in US and in Europe as well. So I kept my options open, whatever works out. So I got the SERB fellowship around the same time I got the Humboldt fellowship.
Oh.
So I declined that and I came here. But the rest didn't work out as well. So some labs didn't have the funding, and the Inspire DST, I went for the interview, but I did not make it to the final. So I did kind of kept my options open. And
but I think what best can happen among all this, let's say comparing of all these fellowships, but getting Humboldt is very highly competitive because that's something how it is, and so I think you can be very, very proud and very happy that you could go through that intensive competition and land a Humboldt Fellowship. That's really great. So it would be for 2 years?
It is for 2 years, and I think for people who have family, they usually also extend it by 1 more year. But yes,
Okay.
just 2 years, yeah.
Great. So how did you choose this lab, specific lab you are now, GEOMAR? Of course, GEOMAR is well known worldwide and also one of the top research they are doing. But how did you come across GEOMAR? You had already some communication with the current supervisor, or somebody referred to, or how was it?
Yes, so I was aware of this lab because our group in NIO Goa, one of our main objectives was the greenhouse gases and their relation to the oceans. So my current group in GEOMAR also is specializing in that. They are one of the leaders in the methane and nitrous oxide emissions from ocean. And so I was aware, I had read the papers, but I never had any communication as such. However, our institutes have a lot of collaborators,
Right.
and we have some researchers, some coming down for a talk, or we would have some winter school and summer school. So I knew some people here. And so yes, so during one of those talks, a researcher had come, and we were just talking after the presentation. And when he listened to my project, he said, you should come to GEOMAR and you should write to me. And okay, I said, okay. Then I wrote to him, and then he forwarded to my current supervisor. His name is Herman Bange. And then we discussed about what we would like to do together. And then he only suggested that you apply for Humboldt with this proposal. So that's how we worked it.
So how was it actually? Now you are 1 year. And how was it with the German research setup? I'm specifically asking this also for the people to understand a bit about, you have been in a world-class institution like NIO, and then now you are also in a world-class institution like GEOMAR, and working in that Indian setup. And also, how is it like? Can you call NIO a world institution in the sense also the working style and everything also would be same as the German setup or this world class here, or how do you put it? What were the challenges you had to go through, let's say, in a positive side?
So, well, they're different. That is what my experience is. And what I got is in GEOMAR, from the first day, I was given a lot of independence. So even for ordering some things, if I want to plan an experiment, I have a lot more liberty to do it as compared to in my lab in India, where I think we would have to go through a certain steps of discussing with my supervisors, and that is how it was usually done there. So we could not just start something suddenly. But here, I think I have more liberty. Also, it could be because I am a postdoctoral researcher here, and I was a junior PhD student there. But yeah, I can say that. So I was given my lab and shown these are the things I could think. I could organize a field trip on short notice. I can just say I want to do this, and I think this part is the logistic, and the organization is more free here. I have more freedom here in terms of research.
So that means you have a small, let's say, area of research on your own, or so you can also hire, let's say, internship students or who want to do thesis with you, and those kind of things is also kind of possible, right?
Yes, I do. I actually have a student who is doing her master's thesis, and I'm training her, and that's so yeah. That I have these opportunities more, and I also have some collaborations already. Although it's just 1 year, so my supervisor helped me. Like somebody approached him, and he just put him through me, and we took it from there. And I think this is something uh, not very common, at least in my previous lab, where we would have always another person, more supervisory role, and it would be through that person instead of directly communications. I don't know, if that is,
No, you are
do
right.
you
I
get
mean,
it, what I'm saying?
yeah, I mean, obviously, as you rightly said, I think it's all about the evolution of setups. I mean, there are setups and structures that's not overnight, but it is a system. So maybe for a country like India
Yeah,
and its own, the way the fundings are happening and things like that, maybe that setup is more suiting than the other way around.
yeah,
And, one
yeah,
cannot compare an apple and peach, so it's two different countries, two different funding setups, two
true.
different styles. One
True.
important thing is we always speak about is building bridges. People like you, actually,
Mm-hmm.
how how are you doing that? Are you now already have the so-called cooperation going on between, let's say, even your lab in NIO or in Calcutta University where you did your masters and GeoMar with your own group or even with some other group within GeoMar? Are you thinking about that, or already it's happening, or you are trying to see how you can support the other side in terms of, let's say, there are young students down there who would like to also understand how the international exposure is, how, because you are, let's say, a successful role model who have gone through certain steps and you are here. And so maybe there are enough, more young people who are also aspiring and you want to also do that, but they do not know how to do that and what are the ways, or writing a proposal and how you, because you can now better understand what an international researcher looks at your email, what kind of a communication you do, and those basic things. Because the first most thing is you communicate. If that first communication, second communication is um, let's say not really working, then you have the difficulty to go to the next steps. How do you look at this? What do you think your contribution has been and what you would like to do?
I think you make a very important point here, because this is ultimately also, I feel, an important part of science, what we give back. And so at present, what I have done is, my previous lab, I do interact with especially particular colleagues who worked in the same lab as me, the stable isotope lab, where I mainly did my most of my work. And so yes, they are setting up a new method, and we have a few more facilities here, so it is not like a formal thing, but yes, informally we do a lot of discussions on this. And even we discuss that if I when I go to India, and I will drop in and maybe provide a short tutorial, or we did a Zoom call also recently, so it's like more of an informal discussion that we had. And in terms of also encouraging the students, yes, I have done like few of my like contemporary colleagues who kind of did PhD like a few months after me or a year after me. And so I have access to some newsletters which have a lot of job postings, internal job postings, and I forward it to them, and we do these discussions about like sometimes I see, yeah, like you said, they don't know they can apply for this as well. And some job postings do not come on more public platforms. They sometimes come on very specific newsletters. So I tell them about it. But yeah, I've not done it on a kind of a big scale. It's only people I know, my previous lab group. So I kind of share it with them. but I agree with you. It is something really important, and it's possibly I should maybe write a mail to my former lab and ask if I could form a newsletter or something to send them some important links. And yeah, it's something.
No, it is. I mean,
It's a good idea. Yeah.
everything starts because, of course, your objective or your focus here is you have come under certain program, so you have your goal, or you have certain deadlines where you have to also do your work. So everything what you do other than that is of more voluntary thing. And of course, there are certain things you can do through your own research because fortunately NIO or your Calcutta University in that departments being very close to what you are, GeoMar is. It's all about marine biology, oceanography and everything. So that fits quite well. But it will be always good sometimes. I always, in my experience, have seen it's not the dearth of talent or it's not the dearth of, the know-how, but it's more about the ways how you reach, how you communicate. I think that's where most of the time I think I feel the difficulty. Professional way of communication is something I don't see it's happening to our, like, especially those who are in the researchers, early researchers, for the next level actually, because it's not about that they are not being taught, but it's about at that point of time the focus for them is different, and only later stage they then develop this interest. But I think it will be helpful if you can think of, maybe it doesn't mean it has to be mass level, but it can be even taking one or two classes like this. Today basically this one of the, let's say, I don't know we can call it, but positive aspect of COVID situation is that many people start to use the digital communicative mode, though it was available earlier as well. Maybe your professor, I do not know whether still he's there in Calcutta University, maybe you can request him that, in one or two classes, maybe a Zoom class where you can speak about your journey. The first thing is about the motivation, and the second thing is about what the small things in terms of writing mails, what people are looking at it, and how you present yourself, and what is the expectation. Those kind of things can be looked at, and also, of course, time to time, if possible, time permits, I would very much encourage you to really do some classes or lectures, both to the NIO, but also to your, alma mater, your Calcutta University, but also other institutions who might be having interest on the topics of your research, the latest advances that's going on for them. I think this way, the point you made about giving back and also trying to connect the international cooperations, taking forward, I think that would be great, because it's not only about giving, but it's also about the satisfaction that you have during that giving. I think that's what most, I think, is nice, to feel the happiness that we are doing something that makes sure there are few more young people who are going into this field, who are coming into the science. How do you see it?
I agree. Yeah, I agree. You're right. Yeah, thanks. It's a really good idea. I can ask my professor if he would have me for a. Yeah, I like that idea. Yeah.
Let's say you have another 2-3 years, or let's say 2 years more, or maybe more. So, can you, let's say, in a brief, explain what exactly you are doing to a level that people can understand who are also not in this core field, and how is it somehow related also, as you rightly said, about the CO2 and also the ocean and everything. Let's say put it in a climate change context or global warming context and all those things.
Okay. So my main topic of interest here is nitrous oxide. Now, nitrous oxide is a gas which is important in our climate in the sense it is also a greenhouse gas like carbon dioxide. We all know more about the effects of carbon dioxide, the increasing emissions. For nitrous oxide, the emission is much, much lesser than carbon dioxide. However, one molecule of nitrous oxide has the warming potential of 400 CO2 molecules. So even a little emission has a larger impact on the temperature. And the nitrous oxide concentrations have been rising. Now, the oceans are one of the important sources of nitrous oxide, but it is not very clearly quantified. There is still much that is left to be unknown. For example, in the oceans, particular areas like coastal zones or estuaries, or even there are certain zones in the ocean where there is low oxygen. They are called oxygen minimum zones. Now, we have observed that those are sources of nitrous oxide. But is there a seasonal pattern? Or which process is producing? Like, so nitrous oxide is produced solely by microbes. So it's a microbiological process. So there are two processes. So we want to see which process is the major contributor, or if there is a seasonal pattern, and what is controlling. Is the rising temperature increasing the N2O emission? Is the rise in salinity? So the reason we chose the Baltic is the Baltic Sea is a unique system because it's landlocked, but it also has a connection to the North Sea, and it has one area which is anoxic, so it is devoid of oxygen throughout the year. And so we want to really understand, quantify, and have a clear idea that who are the main players in the N2O, the nitrous oxide emission to the atmosphere. And so if I say globally, this has an impact because of course, the oceans are 75%, but these coastal areas are usually the hot spots, or they have a significantly more contribution than the open ocean. And so I'm really trying to understand this more. I'm using stable isotopes also to give more answers to some very specific questions here.
Wonderful. I think really, I think you have got the gene of a teacher from your mother. I think in a very, very brief way you could explain so nicely, and for every layman can also understand. Thank you very much for that. And so now, how you look at it? You have a plan. You are going to be for, let's say, another 2 years, 3 years down the lane, and how do you look at it? Is there, let's say, a kind of fixed timeline that you say your interest, also maybe your family together, if you want to be back in India and work for certain institutions, or you say, let's say I'll keep it open and I'll see it's not something now, but I could also better, you feel more that you can contribute from here also quite a lot to Indian science, and, cooperating with them, because science for me today, it has become international. It's not about a country science. You cannot call it that way. It's not a German science, Indian science, or, so it can be only cooperative science. It has to be together, and especially in your fields. I mean, recently we have seen a polar stand, which was also traveling, and around 100 scientists from all over the world was there in such an expedition when it happens. So what's your future looks like? What is, you have a plan, or you say, I don't know, let me go through and then let's see?
So my husband is also an oceanographer, so he is familiar with the nature of our jobs, and so because of Corona, I would say our plans are a little uncertain right now, and because initially we thought since so my husband works in the Middle East in Kuwait, and I work in Germany, and my son, he is here with me. So, and he's only 3 years old. So personally, it's a difficult situation because long distance. But we thought initially we could meet more frequently, but now because of Corona, things are not so bright and rosy. So yeah, so now I really can't say the plans. I would like ideally something where I have, of course, my research also continues, but my family is also with me. But yeah, yeah, things are a bit uncertain. But of course, down the line, I think I would like to be in India. And,
okay. So
recent there, yeah.
because you said Kuwait and all, is it he working with this King Abdullah Kusat, Science and Technology, or it's different because he's working?
No, that is I think in Saudi Arabia, and he is in the Kuwait Institute of Scientific Research.
Okay. Because I have a friend who is working in the other one. I think that is in Jeddah. Maybe, I don't know. I think.
Yes, you're right.
Right.
Yeah,
so,
I also have a few friends from my institute. Yeah.
Exactly. Good. So I think I'm looking at the time. So I promised you around 45 minutes, and I also know you have other commitments too. And yeah, thank you very much, Rupa. It's wonderful speaking with you, and I'm wishing you all the very best, and continue to hold the Indian flag high, but at the same time also to make sure that the group you are associated with also to make a lot of contributions and successes to their group and for yourself as well. And all the best to your family, and a great respect for people like you as young women, especially with also actually having a small daughter and managing the whole thing. It's really something of great respect and hats off. And take care of your health, and especially in the Corona times. And wish you all success. And hopefully, at some point of time, maybe there could be some events that could be organized so that physically where you can give some lecture, and for also in terms of Indian diaspora and other things here as well. Good. So thanks a lot, viewers.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really nice. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I said thank you for having me here. I'm very honored to be here today.
Absolutely. I mean,
and if somebody feels,
yes, please also.
I was done.
Let us know if you come across any scientists of Indian origin, or maybe our idea is it's not only about the Indian origin scientists, but it could be also someone who actually are working very closely with the Indian researchers as well. It could be also German or other international people here who can also. So if you come across anyone who would be interesting and who we can really interact with, please let me know and we can take it up. And thank you, viewers, for this very nice, for this episode, and thanks for joining. And hopefully, we look forward to the next episode with another promising diaspora, Indian origin scientists, academicians who are contributing in building bridges between India and Germany. Thank you. Stay well, and see you next time.
Okay.
Rupa, thank you.
Bye. You too. Bye.